Hey guys, BBI here. I want to stop and say thanks for tuning in and checking out whatever the video is about that's about ready to come up next. If you could take a minute and hit subscribe, I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you enjoy what you've seen here, make sure to hit the like button. We'd greatly appreciate your support. Anyhow, guys, all that aside, let's get on with the show. Oh my God, what a day. Started out this morning, got up stupid early this morning, like 4:30, and came out here and started working because I wanted to get what I had on the bench done. I've been wanting to work on this project that you guys don't get to see the video now for like a month because I didn't look at the part that I received. I've been working on a Wizard amplifier. It's a 3CX 1500A7. I'm getting ready to convert it over to a 3000. Well, I'm like halfway through building the amp deck, and it come time for me to, and I'm not a fan of this, but I was going to do it, put the filament transformer in the RF deck and then wall it off. And I built all the parts for it and everything, and I want to go to grab the filament transformer, and guess what? I got a 7.5 volt filament transformer with no center tap. Yeah. So that means no bias, and I'm not going to run it like that because I got to have access to the anode or the cathode to put bias on it. So that brought that project to a screaming halt. Might as well stop. Power supply's all done. I can't go any further on the amp deck till I know where I've got shit situated. So clean the workbench off, and now here this is where we sit. So this gentleman sent me this amplifier in July of 2018. Don't mind the sharp edges, because that, you know, we're all up to date on our tetanus shots, and we're just going to ignore the extra venting here. For a lot of years, you know, we didn't have access to these nice cabinets that we have today. And, you know, guys would build amps out of what they had. Or they'd, you know, maybe one of them, they had a buddy that had a box break, you know. So they would make it work with what they had. And you got to admire that. Now, this thing's scary. You got to be up to date with your tetanus shots on some of this stuff. Is what it is. This is the 12 pill we talked about, is what he says. It was keying about 1200 watts, if I remember correctly. It was keyed by a foot pedal. It broke off. So I haven't been able to use it. 12 pill with less than a half amp fan cooling this thing. Check this out. Look at the specs on the fan. Not that it matters, because the air could flow right out of the cabinet, and there's 0 point in having the vent in the back. But so the foot pedal broke off. I haven't been able to use it. I would like one that keys with a radio. That we can make happen. You know what to do. Make it a BBI box. Call me and let me know how much you need. I have got a shelving cabinet full, seriously, like 12 volts DC, 0.4 of an amp. And it doesn't matter because it's hitting the combiner on the inside. Oh my God. It's ball bearing. It is ball bearing. I got a shelving unit that is full of projects like this. I mean, like, full. Now, the downside of projects like this that people don't ever want to think about is how time consuming they are. Now, if you were at the local swap meet or, you know, trailer park swap and trade, and you seen this sitting on a table, you probably walk right by it. This guy and is a way better position than I think he thinks he's in. This whole cabinet scares me. This is a nice piece of heatsink though. I mean, this is a really heavy duty piece of heatsink. But look at what's in it. That's right, boys and girls. There's 12 non-red dot Toshiba transistors that haven't gotten hot. Now there's some things in here that kind of scare me up a little bit. We'll just kind of pan around a minute. We'll just take a quick look at it. When you start seeing the flybacks are different like this, and like this one here, that tells you this thing's been rode rough over its life. It's got the 100 ohm combiner setup that was real common for a lot of years. But see, then we start seeing stuff like this. So what is your eyes when you're looking at something like this? What should they gravitate to? Well, we want to see, like if we look around the deck, like let's pan back over here for a second. You see this 10 ohm resistor? Okay. So we'll pan back over here. See this 10 ohm resistor? There's a little difference. Once again, we'll pan back over here. Flame resistant resistors for the flybacks versus this style of flame resistant resistor for the flybacks. And then we're going to look at this 10 ohm. So then we have to ask ourselves, what's happened? So I see OA, OB, or is that an 08? OB, lot number OB, it's got to be 08. They're all number 08s. Interesting. So now what we're looking at here is the lots. So let's say that this section over here is burned up for some point, some reason at some point or another. This section here is burned up. Well, I'd say that this section's had the least amount of abuse since all the 10 ohms are exactly the same style. Then we come over here and we start looking at it. We've got different style of 10 ohms here. So either it has burned up, but I don't see any scorch marks. Well, yeah, there's a scorch mark there. Sure as shit. Then we've got a completely different style here. So we have to ask ourselves, we're gonna stop, gotta go, no, wait a minute. Why, right? Different flyback resistor here, but it matches this one. This one matches these, but then these here, these are different. It's a little telltale signs, little details, like, yeah, there's 12 non-red dot, $210 a piece Toshibas in this thing, but you and myself, we all know we don't know exactly what we have. So once again, we're going to go back and read our note. It was keying at 1200 watts, if I remember correctly. Remember, we got shit like this going on. Literally folded over the metal in a notch that somebody cut out of there with looks like a butter knife. This was his remote and foot pedal control. I bet you this was his remote wire. No, this is his foot pedal. This was his foot pedal here. This is his remote. This is part of an RCA jumper for like a RCA jack. RCA cable. Wow. 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 That's so unsafe. It's okay. I don't give a shit about any of this. I don't care. BBI gives 0F. 0F a given. So we're going to do the world a favor. Oh, Morty. The fan is wired on all the time. I didn't even need to cut that. I could have just untwisted the wires that are wrapped around the positive lead. Check it out. Oh, I don't think it's better the longer I look. Love it. That is some awesome tech right there. That was a positive lead for the fan. Let's come down here and we'll undo the negative lead for the fan. Twist, twist, twist. Come on, come to daddy. Come on. Oh, that's hot. I'm just going to file that right in the appropriate can. Let's just start here. Oh yeah, disc capacitors are different here. Disc capacitors. The mica cap. Yeah, interesting, I know. We're not going to spend too much time looking at that. We're just not going to do it. Just get in here, because we're going to replace all this shit anyhow, and I am not rebuilding this into anything. This is going to go into the death can. I might keep the heat sink for some unknownium project in the future, but I will not keep this cabinet for nothing. Will not. It's gonna never happen. Never see the world's daylight ever again. Okay. Let me pull some screws out. And then, for the sake of transparency, let's, in one continuous shot, we're going to pull the transistors out and we're going to test all of them. Okay. So we're going to do this in the sense of transparency. There's quite a bit of money here. Phillips, 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 Phillips flat blade. Jeez. They build this thing in stages? Is that why there's so many different parts in here? Half these transistors are held in with Phillips, the other half are held in with flat blades. It's like this was an 8-pill at one point, and then they up-converted it into a 12 or something. So that's lot 7E. This is 08, 08, 08. 8J, 5B. Huh, interesting. I think this is an old Dominator box. Hell, it could even be an old Foxy box. Okay, now we're going to go away from our flat blade. Phillips. 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 I'm not going to lie, there's quite a few things in here I admire. Like how big the openings are for the transistors. See, back in the day, they didn't have the dies. They had the dies, they didn't have access to them. The guys didn't have access to them, so they would take and they'd drill out one hole down for where the transistor needed to go, and then they'd drill another hole and another hole and another hole and another hole. So it'd make this kind of weird figure 8 looking hole. But it created you a lot of room to get in here and work and do shit. I mean, the new way is better. Allows us to carry a little bit more ground to the components, but I admire the old guys, dude. They made it freaking happen. It's not like today where you just get on some web page and click order. I mean, there was guys are serious about trying to, get the power, but in the same breath, nobody wanted to let them have it, I always say I was born about 15, 20 years too late. Or maybe I was born at the right time, but I wish I could have been around like when the Rooster Channel Jumpers and all them guys were, they were, all these different clubs. I don't know the history behind the clubs, so don't be judging me based off this next statement, but when the bowl was the bowl, and the bull shippers were the bull shippers, and, the appliance operators were the appliance operators, and there's big clubs, Now, the politics and what the club stood for, I might be or not might be on board with. That's not what I'm talking about. The quantity of people. If I knew what I knew now, and I could go back 30 years ago, I just wonder sometimes. But to get to be one of the last of the Mohicans, and there's still people out there that are interested in this hobby, I think is freaking neat. But knowing the stuff I know, I'd be going to the government. Hey man, I learn about stealth technology. Hey man, let's go talk about guided light forms and how we can create a fiber optic network. And I don't know. I don't know if I'd be twiddly dinking around with this stuff or not, but sure is fun to be where I'm at now. So let's real carefully, we're going to strip these transistors out of here. I'd love nothing more than to find a way for me to be able to go travel the country here and go hang out with some of these old legends that we have today that are still with us, but get to know them in their prime. And I'd love to go back in time and do that, but I'd love to travel the country and be able to sit down with these guys and kind of do like a spoken word tour. I'm traveling around, I'm videoing these guys and putting it up so we can have a reference of history. Not the he said, she said revisionist shit, like directly from their mouths. This is how it went down, this was the first guy to do this, this was the next guy to figure this out. Kind of like an oral history, I guess would be the best way to put it. I'd love to be able to do an oral history tour. But like so many things in this world, I would take time away from this space here, and then I'd have to figure out, one, how to pay for it, two, how to get the time away from here. Man, I don't know. I would. So you guys kind of got a little taste of that when I went to Motor Mouse. I was able to sit down with him and talk with him for a little bit. So I was so flattered when John was willing to open up his station and open up his home to me and be so open and not be afraid to get out there and talk about what had happened and what he'd been through. And for decades, these guys are they were tight-lipped, right? This was the whole amp side of things, what each person had, who did what, who was doing what, who was talking on what. Man, that was some sacred knowledge, Yeah, I'd love to go down and talk with like King Snake and King Arthur and Reject and Mean Pill. God, I'd love to get Mean Pill on camera, but I think that's going to happen with another person. I've been sharing this dream with one person in particular, and kind of feel like that person took my dream and ran with it. But we'll see. We're gonna. It doesn't matter as long as it gets done. Because let's face it, some of these guys aren't the, rifleman and them kind of guys. Just sit down and not have the conversation from who's the best at this or who is the baddest or no, man, tell me the history of what you know, like not the drama. I don't want to, I don't know, I just want to capture that history before it's lost to age or death. You don't know what I would have given to being able to go down and interview John Deere and sit down with him and talk with him about stuff. Oh, man. Oh well. And you got to imagine that a lot of guys wouldn't fool with me. There's just not enough history with me yet in the land of radio. Haven't been around long enough for these guys to really quite figure out what I'm all about. Or develop friendships with them, really. I mean, like Switchblade and them guys, I'd love to go sit down with him and listen to what he's got to say about things. For those doors to be open, you have to have those developed friendships, right? Well, compared to most of these guys running around on the Super Bowl or running around in the land of radio, period, I'm a puppy. I'm a little baby. So, it is what it is. It was a dream. I can dream. I dreamed about building boxes every day, and now here I'm living it, so. That transistor is barely even soldered down. Solder is so old. And it smells totally different. The solder, the smoke itself, this is old school stuff, man. This is mostly lead. The solder we get today is mostly tin, even though they say the ratio on the flux. The stuff is sweet, the smell. The flux that we have today is all differently a chemical makeup, because they figured out that the shit they were putting in flux back in the day would basically make your dingus rot off and you go blind and paramount to masturbating 30 times a day. Get cancer from it, like seriously. I bet this was built in the 90s, this amp. If I was a betting man, which I am not. I hate stopping in the middle of a project. Freaking hate that. Man, I thought for sure I had all the parts. I mean, for sure. So I got to set up the workbench and the stuff that goes on around the workbench per each project, right? And to have to stop in the middle, then organize all the parts, then get everything stored back away again for a minute, and then figure out what I'm going to do next. And I hate doing that. I just want to work on one thing, be done with that one thing, and move on to the next. I'll be honest with you, my least favorite thing I do is when I've got to build multiple amplifiers all together, like 10 2-pills and 3 6-pills and then an 8-pill or whatever, which you guys have seen me do. I don't know how much time that actually saves me, but so I just want to do one thing at a time. Oh well. These are all first world problems, right? I've always been a big fan of when you go and take a higher number transistor box apart like this. So like if a guy sends up to me a 2-pill, right? And I go through it, come on. And I go through it and I look at it. Like there's some janky shit going on the inside of this thing here where you kind of got to question. You can't just look at it and take it for a given. Oh, the transistors are good. And I go through the 2-pill and like one of the transistors is bad. That's, you know, I call the cat up and say, hey man, I looked at your box. These 2 pills are blown or this pill's blown. There's no question, right? This situation, let's say I call the guy up out of a 12-pill and out of this 12 transistors, there's, well, 6 of them. This whole side of the amplifier are in question because of the resistor changes, the component changes. It screams at me that shit's been burned up in the past, right? So I call him up and say, hey man, your 12-pill, yeah, 6 of them transistors are bad. And the lot numbers are all different. He's going to think to himself, you know, these guys aren't dumb. That thing was working. I know it was working when I sent it to him. Well, it ain't working now. If I don't take the time to document this process, which I'm making you guys sit through right this very minute, then there's a question. There can be a question. So instead of having a question, let's just be transparent about it. Yeah, it makes the video longer. Yeah, I got to sit here and think of clever, funny, witty shit to say. But it allows everybody to know exactly what everybody else is seeing. Okay. I was down at the art store with my kid the other day, and I noticed they make those Teflon style kind of work mat things. I seen they had them in black and they got big ones. I'm thinking about buying a couple of them because I'm getting tired of pulling solder out of towels. And the other thing is the string that's in the towel gets hooked on every goddamn thing. So, just so we all remember, this set of transistors came out of this side of the amp, and this is the suspect side. So, let us begin. Survey says, drum roll, 18. This is a good transistor. Gain of 18. That's encouraging. Ding! Gain of 16. Right on. You can tell these two were paired together. I had a guy get pissed at me here the other day and tried to explain to me about gain levels and transistors and how they all, for the whole amp, every transistor has to be balanced. And I said, no, that's not the case. That's not how this works. In a push-pull configuration, the only two that need to be matched are the two that are paired together. He told me I was wrong. And then he told me that his actual buddy, my buddy, who's an actual engineer, gets paid big money, does this for a living, told me that. Fair enough. I guess he's right. 16. From every book I've ever read, which has been a lot, every YouTube thing I've ever looked at or internet thing I've ever read, which has been a lot. That's not the case, but so be it. Also, 16. And you'll find that the components, if they were all put in there new, after they fall into operation, the transistors will basically drop all to the same gain level. Drop to the same gain level. 15. So, that's encouraging. This makes me happy. Now, the side that isn't suspect is going to be the one that's got some bad transistors in it. Watch. Gain of 5. Oh. Anything below about a 9 I don't like to use. I found that transistors that have gains below 9, the leakage between the gate, the collector and emitter and a base, no matter which orientation you want to test it, the leakage becomes such that the transistor has a tendency to fail very quickly, especially if you get it a little bit too hot. And it'll break down. That was a 9 mixed with a 12. Interesting. Let's retest this one here, or test this one here. Gain of 21. Interesting. What's the lot number on that? 7E, 6J, 5-6. This is a 08, or yeah, 08 or 0B. What would that be? What officially are we going to call this? We're going to call it 08. Gain of 15. According to this guy, if I had a 24 pill and one transistor went bad, I had to replace all 24 of the transistors. That way everything could be at the same gain level. And I was like, no, that's not how this works. The only time the gain has any difference is when they're partnered together. They're going to push and pull in the same circuit. So they have to be able to push and pull at the same amount. And you'll find, let's say, okay, I take this 9, and let's say we put it with the 21. Well, once the transistors start to work together, they're going to start leveling out. And this happens within like 2 or 3 keys. Just a couple quick click, click, click. The transistors are going to level their gains out so they can work together. The problem is you don't want to put like a 5 and a 21 together, because as the 21 is getting its gain pulled down by the 5, the gain on the 21 transistor is going to go 21, 18, 15. The gain on the 5 transistor is going to go 5, 3, 2, dead as they start to level. Now if I take and I put a transistor that's got a gain of 21 and a gain of 22, click, 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 they're going to both be roughly about 20 by the time the gains level out and the transistors are working together at the same level. Gain of 16. Of course, his engineer buddy, who does this for a living and gets paid big bucks, I'm not going to question that. Gain of 19. I'll say this, I sure worked on a couple 1,000+ amplifiers where if a transistor went bad, you pull out both of them, the one that went bad plus the one it was paired with, you check its gain, and then you put one in there that's got the same gain level as the one you pulled out. Shit runs for another 15 years. But then again, what the hell do I know? Plus all the other technicians that have preceded me for 45, 50 years. We got 12 working transistors, guys. Now what I'll do is I got a bath that I put these in. And what do I mean by that? I've got a bath of denatured alcohol, like rubbing alcohol. And I'll let them soak for a little bit, not too awful long, because I don't want to worry about having any moisture infiltrate the transistor. And then we'll go and we'll scrub them with a brand new toothbrush, and we'll get them looking all pretty and white again. Maybe it'll let me zoom in here close enough. Nope. If you're watching this on a big screen, I don't know. Sorry, 08, 08, 08. E, 6J, the 5, 08, 08, D6. A lot of money sitting there, guys. I never in my life I would ever thought there was going to be this at this level for money, but it is what it is. Okay, let's move on. You like my high-tech bath? Yeah, it's friggin' awesome, isn't it? This allows us to get all of our heat sink compound off the transistor for the most part. Allows us to remove a little bit of the flux, clean off the 30-year-old dust, dirt, cigarette grime, whatever. Please note the one transistor sitting over there on a paper towel. Ah! You hear my phone going off a lot. And that's a gentleman who's 70 years old. And he went to the local bookstore and bought himself every book that you could get on how to pass the ham test. And he's super excited because he's decided he's going to try and get his ham license at 70, which I think is friggin' amazing. And all I've done is give him words of encouragement, because it's hard. It's a lot harder now than what I think people think it is, right? So I was like 12 when I got my general. And I think I was 12 and a half or 13 years old when I went out the rest of the way. And looking at the code made it a little bit tough. Like, I couldn't do code today to save my nutsack, right? But when you're young and your brain isn't full of a lot of stuff, it's not that big of a deal. It wasn't that tough. But the The thing that makes it harder today is there's so many different digital modes. Like the general class license, there's so many new digital modes that they make you learn, and the different protocols for that, which is necessary if you're going to go and try and utilize that portion of the band and work those kind of situations. But and I understand why it's there. I get it. Believe me, I get it. But to not know anything about the different kinds of packets and the different kinds of protocols for things, not have anything else to reference that against, plus you're 70. I don't know. I know some pretty smart people, though, that are in their 70s, and they're sharp as a tack, so I guess I shouldn't say and 70. But at 70 and not having any previous experience with it, like not being in radio for a while, that's a bit of a challenge. And I applaud this man for trying. I really do. What's the worst they're going to tell you? You didn't pass? Yeah, well, I'm not going to lie, because it was the thing to go do, because I had some other friends that were trying to pass too. I didn't pass my first couple times, and that's because I didn't study. Straight out. And I had this nice guy by the name of Jim. Oh, wow, look at that. Mother Nature starting to come up. This nice guy by the name of Jim, he come over. And first he went to my parents and he sat him down and he goes, look, listen, this young man's all about radio. I'm wondering if I can come get him on Tuesday and Thursday of each week at night after dinner. I'm going to take him to my house. I want to sit him down, and school started. Okay. Because he goes, man, we're just so tired of seeing you come in here and you're just wanting to hang out with everybody, and we're just tired of seeing you come in here and fail. He goes, that, and I'm really tired of grading your exam. So he kind of Elmered me a little bit. Jim's dead now, long gone. His son had a drug addiction issue that fought him his entire life. His son's now gone too, from drugs and alcohol. But the moral of the story is this person was kind enough to come drive across town, come pick me up, sit me down at his computer, and we started doing the tests on his computer. You got to think this is like a DOS-based system at this time. So like you would do the first 10 questions and then it'd pop up and it'd say, okay, now insert floppy disk B. You know what I mean? So we're talking with the 5 1/4 or whatever it was, a big flat black. Pop the open, pull the disk out, stick the other one in, hit enter, and sit there and wait for 2 minutes as it read the disk, and then okay, continue on. And you're he went over every single question in all 3 data pools with me and kindly explained to me, this is one of the guys that taught me how to study, kindly explained to me what they meant, how they worked with each other, what everything meant, and the different styles of antennas. And I mean, well, you're 12, right? Okay. So if a guy is willing to try at age 70, I'm all about that. I think that is some badass shit. I've been waiting forever to use this board. I keep moving it around and moving it around and moving it around, and finally, here we are. So all these little scratches and stuff will disappear when I spray the clear on it when we're done. So the $64 million question is, do I want to do 8 and 4, 8 and 4, 4 and 8? What do I want to do? Yep. Yeah. According to the little radio I got out here, the 7810, that's that would be the deep south there, south of the border. Skip. So let's see here. How many of these little magic pill strips? There was a time when these things were impossible to get. I need 1.5. Okay. Let's go cut pill strips. I freaking love this thing. Best money, I mean, I'm not lying, some of the best money ever spent was the Scott masks. I freaking love it. I know none of the copper, none of the fiber, none of that stuff. I'm not breathing any of it. I love it. Worth every penny. They got like 4 of those. Yeah. Okay. I think we're going to do 8 and 4. I gotta make some phone calls, you guys. I'm not gonna, next couple steps, which is gonna be transistors, pill strips, 10 ohm smoke detectors, and 120 puff directors. Those are jokes, you guys. I'm not gonna video any of that. I'll take pictures. So here we go, we're gonna give you a quick little slideshow, but I gotta get on the phone, I gotta make some phone calls or return some phone calls and do some stuff. So we're gonna power on. I shall return. This has been a busy afternoon. So it is 7:30 at night, a day later. Got interrupted by about 15 dozen things today. One of the things that happened is my boss calls me and says, "Hey, you wouldn't happen to have the ability to solder up some jumper cables?" I'm like, "Dude, if you got 3-inch wire, I can solder it, or I can submerge solder it. I got the tools." So his son shows up over here with literally every set of jumper cables for every truck we have in our fleet, except for his, which is the one I drive. I had no idea that we were in such an interesting shape. Spent a good portion of my afternoon doing that. Another friend, I'm building this really cool custom aluminum bar mounting bracket for his radio system. It's going to go up and over and around and follow the contours of his dash, and it's going to hook into the oh shit handles on the side of his truck. And I spent some time working on that today. And then we went out to dinner with some old family friends. So I'm finally able to get out here and start working again. But we got our input and output transformers mounted, otherwise known as splitters and combiner circuits. And then we got ourselves our input and output splitter boards mounted. We got our transformers wired. We got our 10 ohm flybacks installed. Our 10 ohm balance resistors installed. So we're clicking right along. Made ourselves little brackets to hold them up in free space. I know from this angle they kind of look like they're floating in the air. There's just a little copper board. It's attached to the back and it kind of folds down out of the way. Here, if I zoom in a little bit, you guys might be able to see this. But that has always bugged me. Having that up there floating around, the combiner and the splitter circuit floating in free space unsupported, I've never liked that. Never, not once. So this is our creative workaround for that problem. And I'd like to say I was the one that created this. I am not. I'm not that guy. Oh, Prime Minister. He's the one that cooked up this design. Oh, to be copied. I guarantee it. Some of these leads are a little bit too long on them, so I'm trimming here. So now we're going to put our Class C chokes. I'm going to put them in play here. Then the next step after that is we put our mini coax in. After we get our output inductors installed. And then we'll build up our keying circuitry and attach one of our remote wires. And then we'll populate our cabinet, put our power supply wires on. Drop it in the deck, set up our fans, and then we're going to go for it. But the number one thing that happened today is, boys and girls, you know the SB220 video that's getting ready to come up that we're gonna work on. The owner of Harbach called me today. Man, that cat is a cool mofo. Spent about a half hour on the phone today. And basically the conversation just devolved to, "What you want?" I told him what I wanted. He goes, "You got it." Everybody in the radio world wants to see this build happen. I am blown away by the response that I've gotten. Everybody wants to see this new build happen. The next 4 projects I have in line have not figuratively, but literally have contacted me in the last 3 days and said, "Is our project in the way?" And one of them is this one called the Big Red Pig. He got with me today. I wasn't going to say anything to him because that amplifier has been needing to get rebuilt completely from the ground up now for about a year. He says to me, he goes, "Hey, I'm not going to lie, I kind of want to see that amp get built before mine." And I said, "Well, I have yours scheduled." And he goes, "It's up to you." That's where I left it. I mean, this is going to be, it's epic, don't get me wrong. I think this is a really big deal, but in the same breath, these people waited years to get their projects done. So I don't know, I'm a little on the fence with what I'm going to do yet. Now, how do I solder to that? Like, seriously. Yeah, a guy from Harbuck calling me, because all I did is I called him and said, "Hey man, it's BBI. I appreciate it if you give me a call. I got a really big project coming up, and I'd like to have you get involved in it. And I also want your permission to mention your webpage in the video and talk about your product." And boy howdy, he got right back to me. I really enjoyed our phone call today, brother. He knew exactly who I was. He knew exactly what I was doing. And he led into the conversation with, "Man, I sure hope you're calling to talk to me about being involved with that new SB220 build." Which put a smile on this mud duck's face, I'm here to tell you. I thought that was pretty freaking neat. So, when I say the radio world is on board with us doing this, it's not just me, it's all you guys helping support and watch. You're all just as much involved as I am. I'm excited. I'm excited. But this guy here has been waiting a long time. A long time. So without cutting any corners, and without rushing through nothing, it's like I said on Facebook last night. Bring me your tired, your weak, your amplifier humbled masses. And with them, I will build works of art. Our output inductor coil, which I want to make look just right about like this. Take this little guy, we're going to bend it just like so. Uh-oh, calm down there, Hot Rod. Different pair of wire dikes. This sucker's gonna come flying off of there like a bullet in a war. There we go. That's the output. Spin this around. Busy day. Good day though. How's that saying go? If you find a job that you love, you've never worked a day in your life, huh? Well, that's that bullshit. It's still a job. Man, I love it. Yesterday was awesome though, I'm not gonna lie. The phone didn't ring that much, and I was able to work fairly unabridged for most of the day. God, the sushi we had for dinner tonight was good. Whew. We'll be back. Well, here we sit. So, I want to actually back the camera up a little bit. The reason I got to do that is because I found if I have the camera low at this angle and it's too close to death. And I'm sure the box ran great in its day. The customer said, where's the note? Here is the note. It was keying about 1200 watts, if I remember correctly, is what he said in the note. Well, we're seeing a little bit better performance than that at this time. As we all can clearly see over here, we have our voltmeter. Right here, voltmeter. And then, let's go get our metering out of the way. That right there in the PEP hole is a 1000 watt slug in 5X. Don't ask me why that was in reverse. 1000 in forward. Over there we can clearly see that's a 5 watt slug in reverse. Now, for our input tune, we can clearly see that that is a 50 watt slug in reverse. Okay? There's a 3-foot jumper of RG316 going in, and a 3-foot jumper of RG400 coming out, going over to the watt meters. Okay? So, let's go back over here. Let's pan out just a little bit. Now, it's not going to look like much. Remember, on the 5000 watt scale, the 10 on the PEP meter which this one just center of screen. The 10-watt slug, or the 10, is 1,000. 20 is 2,000. 3 is 3,000. 4, or 40, is 4,000. And 50 is 5. Now I got the bench 2950 hitting the bench 4-pill. So we're loafing like 600 watts of drive into this box. Okay? And about 200 bird. Of course, nothing back from the bird 10,000 watt dummy load. Let's go look at our pass-through tune. Absolutely none there. So, let's see what we get out of it loafing the 4-pill into the 12-pill. 3,400 watts. Which is good. It's about what we're expecting. Let's go look at our input tune. Not enough for us to care about. Let's look at our volts. 14.7 volts. So now, I haven't tested this yet. We're going to kick it up a notch. We're going to disconnect the bench 4-pill, or disconnect the bench 2950. Leave the 4-pill in line. And we're going to go to our striker. Now, I don't know how much more performance we're going to really see by doing this in the peak meter window. Let's shut the amp off. So, let's go back over here. Now let's take a look for her. So we're picking up a couple hundred watts of drive going into the 12-pill. And I cannot get the dead key any lower than that. So we're seeing about 3,500 watts. So now let's kick it up even another notch. Let's take our Invenable 490, hook up our 490, and let's max the thing out for drive. About 1,100 watts. That's all we're going to get out of this little 4-pill. That's all we're going to get. About 1,100 watts. Quite have the dead key high enough to latch it up. So, I'm 14.7 volts. Getting about 3,500 watts out of it. So that's about our max. Let's do this. We're going to go back to the bench 2950. Back to doing our anemic amount of drive, which is where I suggest you run this for longevity and life. Yeah, we're still plenty cool. 600-700 watts worth of drive. Okay. I'll reach down here, crank this thing up just a little bit. 16 volts, we're seeing 3,800 watts with about 600-700 watts of drive. I'll take that with a smile and run away all day long. all day long. Okay, let me spritz some clear on this thing. We got to tie down our input tube and our output tube. And we'll be right back. Well, gentlemen, we're going to have to bring this one to an end because we have finally reached the end of this project. It's been a fun 2.5 days. Oh, it's been good. I learned a little bit more about Dominator and Foxy and that whole clan of guys. And I hope you all have gotten to see a little bit of the progression of this build and enjoyed and learned a little bit yourselves. The tetanus shot box over here versus slick, clean sexiness over here. Will it stay looking like this? I don't know. That's on its next owner. But it is all vinyled up. It's got good power wires on it. And all the good parts money can buy. Gentlemen, I appreciate you all tuning in to watch this little video. A lot of energy and effort goes into each and every single one of these builds, and they are incredibly time consuming. Incredibly time consuming. Taking these old ragged boxes and turning them into absolutely beautiful, beautiful works of art is a challenge, but it's worth it. Big thanks out to all of you guys, my supporters, my friends, all of you guys that are interested in having a project done by me. I'm sorry, I'm still not taking on any new work right now at all. At all. This is just one of many, 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 many more to come. Big thanks to Bird, Coaxial Dynamics, Excess Power, and as always, Siglent. I gotta run, you guys. Beautiful, beautiful evening or day. We'll see you on the next one. Bump, bump. I'll see you. Bye.